Stop. Look around you right now. Your phone, your Wi-Fi, the electricity powering your lights, the motor in your car. Every single piece of technology you depend on was invented by one man. But here's what they don't want you to know. That man died alone, broke, forgotten, feeding pigeons in a New York park while the world he created made billions for everyone except him. His name was Nikola Tesla, and what happened to him will make you question everything you believe about genius, justice, and the American dream. Because the man who gave us the future was brutally destroyed by the very system he helped create. This isn't just a story about invention. It's about the most shocking betrayal in the history of science, and it's happening again. Right now. To the next Tesla. Tesla was born during a lightning storm in 1856 in what is now Croatia. His mother told him the midwife said it was a bad omen, that he would be a child of darkness. "No," his mother replied, "he will be a child of light." She had no idea how prophetic those words would be, or how much darkness would try to extinguish that light. Tesla's father, Milutin, was an Orthodox priest who wanted his son to follow in his footsteps. But Tesla's mother, Georgina, was different. She was an inventor herself, creating small household devices and tools. She never learned to read, but she could recite thousands of lines of Serbian poetry from memory. It was from her that Tesla inherited his extraordinary mind. From childhood, Tesla was different, terrifyingly different. He could perform complex calculations in his head that would stump university professors. He could visualize machines in perfect detail, run them in his mind for weeks, then disassemble them mentally to check for wear. At age 5, Tesla built his first invention, a motor powered by June bugs. While other children played with toys, Tesla was already engineering the future. But his gift came with a curse that would haunt him forever. Tesla suffered from what we now know as obsessive-compulsive disorder and synesthesia. He could see sounds as colors. Numbers had personalities. He was compulsively clean, terrified of germs, and could only eat if he calculated the cubic contents of his food. He had to walk around a building 3 times before entering. He needed exactly 18 napkins at every meal. He was terrified of women wearing pearls. When Tesla was 7, his older brother Dane died in a horse-riding accident. Tesla blamed himself, believing he had somehow caused the tragedy through his evil thoughts. This guilt would torment him for the rest of his life. His classmates thought he was insane. His teachers thought he was cheating. His own father wanted him to become a priest, believing his son's mind was too fragile for the world. But Tesla's mind was operating on a level that wouldn't be understood for another century. What they saw as madness was actually genius trying to process a reality too complex for normal human perception. At school, Tesla could solve complex mathematical problems in his head faster than his teachers could write them on the blackboard. When they accused him of cheating, he would solve even more difficult problems to prove his abilities. But this only made him more isolated, more feared. And that genius was about to collide with the most ruthless businessman in America. At 28, Tesla arrived in New York with 4 cents in his pocket, a book of poetry, and a letter of recommendation to the most powerful man in America, Thomas Edison. Edison was already famous, the wizard of Menlo Park, the inventor of the light bulb, the man who was electrifying America with his direct current system. But Edison was also something else, a master manipulator who took credit for other people's work. His inventions were often created by teams of engineers working in his lab. Edison just slapped his name on the patents. Tesla didn't know this yet. He still believed in the myth of Edison the genius. Edison's DC system had a fatal flaw. It could only travel short distances. You needed a power plant every few miles. It was inefficient, expensive, and dangerous. Tesla had a solution: alternating current. AC could travel hundreds of miles with minimal loss. It could power entire cities from a single source. Edison hired Tesla immediately, but what happened next would destroy Tesla's faith in humanity forever. Edison promised Tesla $50,000, equivalent to over $1 million today, if he could improve Edison's DC generators. Tesla worked 18 hours a day for months. He redesigned Edison's entire system, making it vastly more efficient. He barely slept, barely ate, driven by the promise of recognition and reward. When Tesla presented his improvements, Edison was amazed. The generators worked perfectly. Tesla had delivered exactly what he promised. "Now, about my $50,000, Tesla said. Edison looked at him for a long moment. Then he laughed. "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." He refused to pay. Not a single cent. Tesla stared at Edison in disbelief. This was the man the world called a genius? This was America's greatest inventor? "Mr. Edison," Tesla said quietly, "you have broken your word." "Business is business," Edison replied. "Consider it a lesson in American enterprise." But that betrayal was nothing compared to what came next. Tesla quit Edison's company and started his own. He began developing his AC system, the technology that would eventually power the entire world. But Edison saw AC as a threat to his DC empire, so he launched the most vicious smear campaign in scientific history. What Edison did next was so evil, so calculated, that it would make modern corporate warfare look like a playground dispute. Edison began publicly electrocuting animals with AC current to prove it was dangerous. He electrocuted dogs, cats, horses, even an elephant named Topsy at Luna Park in front of a crowd of 1,500 people. The elephant's death was filmed. Edison distributed the footage as proof that AC was too dangerous for public use. But Edison wasn't done. He literally invented the electric chair using AC current, then lobbied to have execution by electrocution called being Westinghoused, after Tesla's business partner, George Westinghouse. Edison hired children to steal neighborhood pets, which he then electrocuted in his laboratory. He paid them 25 cents per animal. The man who claimed to be a champion of progress was using torture, propaganda, and child labor to destroy the future. Newspapers called it the War of the Currents. But it wasn't a war. It was a massacre. Edison had money, fame, and political connections. Tesla had only his genius. But Tesla's AC system was simply too good to suppress. It was safer, more efficient, and infinitely more practical than Edison's DC. George Westinghouse, a brilliant businessman who actually understood innovation, saw Tesla's potential. He bought Tesla's AC patents for the unprecedented sum of $1 million plus royalties that would make Tesla rich for life. Tesla was vindicated, famous, wealthy, and then Westinghouse came to him with a request that would change everything. "Nikola," Westinghouse said, his face grave, "I'm in financial trouble. The royalties I owe you will bankrupt my company. I need you to tear up the contract." Tesla held the contract in his hands. It was worth tens of millions of dollars, enough to make him one of the richest men in America. enough to fund his research forever, enough to secure his future. But if Westinghouse went bankrupt, AC technology might die with him. The world would be stuck with Edison's inferior DC system forever. Tesla looked at Westinghouse, then at the contract that represented his entire fortune, and he tore it up. "The benefits of my invention should belong to all humanity," Tesla said. With that single act of generosity, Tesla gave away what would have been billions in today's money. He chose the future of humanity over his own wealth. It was the most noble decision in the history of invention, and it was the beginning of his destruction. Without the Westinghouse royalties, Tesla had to fund his research himself. He became obsessed with wireless power transmission, the ability to send electricity through the air without wires. Imagine it. No power lines, no electric bills, no energy poverty, just free, clean electricity available to everyone, everywhere on Earth. Tesla had seen the future, and it was beautiful. In 1901, Tesla began construction of Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island. It was his masterpiece, a 187-foot tower designed to transmit power wirelessly across the globe. Tesla invested everything he had into Wardenclyffe. He sold his patents, mortgaged his future, and worked himself to exhaustion. This tower would be his vindication, his gift to humanity. The tower was unlike anything ever built. Its foundation went 120 feet underground, deeper than the tower was tall. Tesla claimed the Earth itself would become a conductor, carrying power to every corner of the globe. Free energy for everyone. No power companies, no electric bills, no more poverty caused by lack of electricity. Tesla's tower could have changed the world overnight. It could have ended energy scarcity forever. But as construction progressed, Tesla began receiving strange visitors. Men in expensive suits who asked probing questions about his work. Government officials who wanted to inspect his facilities. Tesla was being watched, his every move monitored. J.P. Morgan, who was funding the project, realized something terrifying. If energy was free, how could you make money from it? Morgan had invested millions in copper mines for electrical wiring. He owned stock in power companies. Free wireless energy would destroy his entire empire. But Morgan was clever. He didn't just pull his funding, he sabotaged Tesla's reputation. Suddenly, newspapers began running stories about Tesla's impossible claims. Scientists who had once praised his work now called him a fraud. Investors who had been eager to fund his projects suddenly disappeared. Tesla found himself blacklisted from the scientific community he had helped create. So Morgan pulled his funding. Tesla's tower was never completed. The man who invented the future was stopped by men who wanted to own it. Tesla spent his final decades in poverty, living in a series of New York hotels, unable to pay his bills. The man whose inventions were generating billions for others couldn't afford a decent meal. He became increasingly eccentric, obsessed with pigeons, especially one white pigeon he claimed to love as a man loves a woman. He would spend his last dollars buying food for the pigeons in Bryant Park. Tesla would sit for hours in the park, feeding the birds and talking to them as if they were old friends. Passers-by thought he was just another crazy old man. They had no idea they were looking at the man who had given them the modern world. Hotel managers would find him in his room, talking to invisible visitors, claiming he was receiving messages from Mars. Tesla insisted he had made contact with extraterrestrial intelligence through his wireless experiments. The press, which had once called him a genius, now called him a mad scientist. The man who had given them the modern world became a laughingstock. Tesla's final years were marked by increasing paranoia. He believed government agents were stealing his ideas. He claimed his room was being searched while he was away. He started sleeping with his most important papers under his pillow. Was he paranoid? Or was he right? When that white pigeon died, Tesla said his life's work was finished. I have been feeding pigeons, thousands of them for years. But there was one, a beautiful bird, pure white with light gray tips on its wings. That one was different. It was a female. I had only to wish and call her, and she would come flying to me. I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loved me. As long as I had her, there was a purpose to my life. On January 7, 1943, Tesla died alone in room 3327 of the New Yorker hotel. He was 86 years old. The maid found his body 3 days later. Within hours, the FBI arrived. They seized every scrap of paper in Tesla's room, every notebook, every blueprint, every letter. They classified his research and locked it away. Much of it remains classified today. What were they so afraid of? What secrets did Tesla take to his grave? Some of Tesla's papers described weapons that could destroy aircraft from hundreds of miles away. Others detailed communication systems that could reach other planets. Still others contained designs for machines that could control the weather itself. The FBI took it all. Tesla died with over 300 patents to his name. Every time you use electricity, you're using his inventions. Every time you use a remote control, a radio or Wi-Fi, you're using his discoveries. The wireless charging pad for your phone? Tesla invented wireless power transmission in 1891. Your car's AC motor? Tesla invented it in 1888. The radio in your car? Tesla invented radio transmission before Marconi was even born. But Tesla died broke and forgotten, while the men who stole his ideas became legends. Edison is remembered as America's greatest inventor. Tesla is barely mentioned in most history books. Here's what makes this story even more tragic. Tesla's impossible inventions are now everyday reality. Wireless power transmission? Your phone charges wirelessly. Remote control? You probably have a dozen in your house. Robotics? Tesla built the first remote-controlled device in 1898. Global wireless communication? You're probably watching this on a device that proves Tesla was right. Tesla didn't just invent the future. He invented our present. But the system that destroyed Tesla is still operating today. Brilliant inventors are still being crushed by corporate greed. Revolutionary technologies are still being suppressed to protect existing profits. The next Tesla is out there right now, probably struggling to get funding, fighting against a system designed to enrich the powerful rather than benefit humanity. Subscribe if you believe genius should be rewarded, not destroyed. Because only people who understand Tesla's story can prevent it from happening again. Like this video if you think inventors deserve better than betrayal and poverty. The corporate overlords who profit from suppressing innovation don't want you to share this story. Hit that notification bell if you refuse to let history's greatest minds be forgotten while their exploiters become legends. Tesla's story isn't just history, it's a warning. The man who invented the future was brutally destroyed by the past, but his legacy lives on every time someone chooses humanity over profit, innovation over exploitation, truth over power. Tesla lost everything, but he gave us everything. The question is, what will we do with the world he created? Nikola Tesla, the man who lit up the world, then watched it burn him alive. The child of light who died in darkness, so we could live in the light forever.